good afternoon. I'm excited to welcome you to your favorite Saturday morning conversation or Saturday afternoon conversation here in Izmi. It's 12:25. I'm excited to welcome you. And for those of you joining from Nigeria, it's 10:25 a.m. in the morning. So thank you for joining me. If you're joining from the US, if you're watching from the Bahamas, if you're watching from any of the Francophone nations. I'm excited to welcome you to the conversation. My name is Chigozie George again. So I want you to sit back and enjoy the conversation with me. I'm having a very, very good guest today, a very special friend, a very special guest. And I know that I always bring you the best people to have conversation with me. There's a lot to learn on the conversation today. We talk about the very best of topics that inspire you to become the very best of yourself, the very best version of yourself. So that's what we're going to do today again. So sit back and have a very wonderful time with me. So like we always do, I want you to go ahead and share and invite someone else. You can follow us on Facebook, Chigozie George. You can follow us on Instagram. You can follow us on YouTube and share the link and get your friends to participate in the conversation today. It's going to be amazing and amazing. In a moment, I'm going to be introducing my guest today. And I know that if you've been around me for some time in Izmi, you would know that I must have spoken about him 1,000 times. So it's an opportunity to put a face to the name that you've always heard around me today. And I am sure this conversation is going to be super, super interesting for you. One more time, you're welcome. My name is Chigozie George. It's the standout conversation with Chigozie George on Saturday morning. And quickly, let me bring my guest for today. His name, as you can see on the screen, is Gbeminiyi Jinadu. Gbeminiyi Jinadu is my friend for, oh my. They say 20 friends can be friends for 20 years, but I guess two friends can be friends for 20 years. So let me allow Gbeminiyi to talk about himself and then we can get into the conversation properly. Welcome, JY.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me. I know it's been a few months that we've been talking about me being on the show.
It's
Good morning, everybody. It's morning here in Lagos. Sunny and lovely weather in Lagos, Nigeria. My name is Gbeminiyi Jinadu. I've been friends with Chigozie George for what? 2021
yeah.
or 2001? Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
2001, I believe.
Ah, 2023. Yeah, 23
Mhm.
years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. I've never put a thought to that date before, right? But it's been good. It's been good having you as a mentor, as a friend, as a pastor, as a leader. Um, I'm supposed to talk about me, right? I'm Gbeminiyi Jinadu. Those of you that don't know me, and everything Pastor Chigozie has said, he has been hyping me. Well, but this is me. I'm an engineer by profession. I operate in the construction space. I'm a project manager, and what I do these days is to manage projects in the construction space in Lagos and all around Nigeria. I'm a believer in Jesus Christ. I love God. Um, I'm married. I have two kids, and some people call me Gentle Giant. So I may look small on the screen, but I'm a giant anyway. So I think that's me in a brief description of myself. Thank you for having me on your show.
All right, you're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. And really, I never put a thought into that. We've been friends for 23 years. I never put so much thought into it. If someone asked me, I normally say 15, and I didn't know it was 23 years. Man, we old. We
Yeah, we
old.
old. We
Come
old.
on. We old. Anyway,
God.
let's start with something very. I was thinking of what simple area could we start with right now. What's your fondest memory of our time, so since we've been friends? What time do you remember that you find so interesting? You know.
You know the famous Janora story now. Ah, the famous Janora story.
Yeah.
I think I don't know whether I want to go into all the details, but it was an so we used to belong in a drama group, right, in church, and we had a concert. Yeah, I think it
Mm-hmm.
was a concert.
Mm.
Was I'm not sure whether it was in Festac or it was in Yanora, one of the two places that we had
Yeah.
to carry cross on a
I think that was
bike.
Festac.
Car broke. I think the car broke down. We had
Mm-hmm.
to carry our props on a bike. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I think back then I think what made it interesting the most for me was that that space was not our territory, right? In that,
Yeah.
if I can use that word, it was like we trying to explore out and take our drama ministry to new heights, right?
Mm-hmm.
And open new grounds, right? I
Mm-hmm.
remember that night. That night was very interesting, but I think what looking back now, I I see it as going beyond your limits, right?
Mm-hmm.
Going beyond your comfort zone. Trying to,
Mm-hmm.
you were pushing us those days that we can go beyond, in local balance,
Mm-hmm.
local champion that you can
Mm-hmm.
explore and do greater things. So I think that's what makes it the most exciting and interesting for me. Looking back now at that event on
Mm-hmm.
how we were able to it was not to be very honest, it was not a very successful night, but I think it shifted something in our minds that
Mm-hmm.
if you believe that it is possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
That
Mm-hmm.
you can go to other um, areas and succeed
Mm-hmm.
there. So for me, it was a turning point that um, I pushed beyond my comfort zone. We're used in
Mm-hmm.
those days, we were used to doing things right where we were known, where we were celebrated, but we went to a
Mm-hmm.
territory where nobody knew us, the
Mm-hmm.
accolades were, but I think it shifted something in my thinking forever that you can do more, you can try
Mm-hmm.
and explore new
Mm-hmm.
frontiers.
Yeah.
I think there are many, many, many more stories, but I don't think time will avail me to share many more stories.
Mm-hmm. It's important that you mentioned that we needed to understand that we could do more outside our comfort zone and outside our
Yeah.
territory, and like you said, outside our natural palace, where we felt like we're kings and we felt like we had whatnot success and everything. It was good that we felt like we could explore more. That is one of the things I think people need to understand right now, especially in this generation. You've got to learn, people have got to learn to push themselves more, push themselves beyond their own limitations. Oftentimes the limitations that we have are the ones we create by ourselves. They're imaginary limitations. But for me, I think one of the fondest memory that I've always talked about was, I don't know where we went to. I can't remember where we went to exactly, but I do know where we went somewhere, and then someone looked at us sitting, and I think you heard them. I didn't hear. You heard them saying, "Man, these guys are so quiet. They're quiet people." Then you whispered to me. I was like, "These guys said we are quiet." I
That
still
person has
laughed
not
out
seen us
loud,
in
like,
our
and you
elements.
like, do they know we are the one going to act drama tonight?
He has not seen us in our elements. We are not quiet. We may look quiet,
you
right?
know, it's like when you keep quiet, people just assume like, these guys are quiet, they're quiet. That was one of my, fondest memory. I always remember every time. Then another one was, I think we went to speak in a teenagers conference. I think it was it was that Toby Shode that asked us to, I was sent to, go and teach in that conference. He couldn't attend. And then you drove and we went there. After we finished, they gave us money that they're supposed to give to him, and then food they were supposed to give to him. And then we're driving back, and you were like, guy, he's not going to eat this food.
No, come on. He's not going to eat the food. It's all good. You know, I like one thing that you just mentioned about people looking at you and
Mm-hmm.
underestimating you, right? And that's one point I like to drive home so that people can just learn
Yeah.
from it. You know, irrespective of what people are saying about you, right? You know what you have inside of you and you know what your
Mm-hmm.
dreams are.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember, I don't know whether you remember in Lasso, right? You know, there was we wanted to do the same thing we did in First Act in Lasso, and somebody
Yeah.
was, really against it, right? Because person felt at that point that
Mm-hmm.
maybe we're not ready, it was not the right platform, or we're over
Mm-hmm.
ambitious and something like that. But the truth is that if you allow what people say about you to affect you or to define your
Yeah.
destiny, then you are
Yeah.
not heading anywhere. If you
That's
allow
true.
the opinion of people, right? People always
Mm-hmm.
have opinion, and we are in the age right now that to give an opinion about somebody, right? You know, we were having a conversation yesterday, and I was saying to you
Mm-hmm.
how people just go on Instagram and abuse somebody else,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You know, you don't know them from anywhere. So if and in this when we started, there was no Instagram, right? So
Yeah.
if somebody had to give you a comment, they had to see you, right?
Yeah.
But these days, you're online and people begin to pass comments and try to define who you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just by looking
Mm-hmm.
at you and not even understanding what you've been through and where you're coming from.
Yeah.
So if you allow those comments to affect you, right,
Mm-hmm.
then it can just stop you from reaching your goals in life. You know, so it's
Yeah.
important for us to so it's good for you to take feedback. You can take feedback, right? But you
Mm-hmm.
should not allow those feedbacks to stop you from reaching where you want to reach in life. Because the
Yeah.
truth is that your destiny is just in your hands, right? Not in the
Yeah.
hands of
Yeah.
anybody typing on their keyboard at home.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
I already knew that this conversation was going to be so good. People really need to understand your destiny is in your hands.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
was something my wife was telling me yesterday. He said, it's good that you're a loyal person. She always asks me, say, why are you such a loyal person? She's like, you're a loyal person to people. But, one of the things I sometimes want to say to her is this: I know the limit of my loyalty to people.
Yeah.
I know the limit of what people can contribute to my life. I understand to a great extent more than I did when I was younger. My destiny is in my hand. My destiny is in my hand and in the hand of God. Nobody's going to abandon their life. Nobody's going to abandon their life to try to fix mine.
Yeah.
Nobody's
So
going to
why should you
abandon
allow
their
their
business to try to
comments
fix
to
mine.
affect you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I have somebody who I know you're not going to abandon your life, you're not going to abandon your children's life, you're not going to abandon your business to come and fix mine, why would I let what you think about what I'm doing determine how I'm going to do it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just people need to pay more attention to understanding that, listen, your life, your destiny is in your hand and in the hand of God. You know. But let me quickly get into asking you a question. You
Yeah.
are a project manager. Sometimes when we talk on the phone, I see you got people walking around you. I see people come around. They talk to you nicely, but I know you. They know you are the boss. I could see from the vibe that this guy is the manager. I could see from that vibe this guy is the manager. It's obvious. So I want to ask a question that what is it that makes a manager effective in their workplace? Let's get into that straight. What is it that makes a manager effective in their workplace, and what makes you an effective manager in your workplace?
Okay, so first thing first, um, I treat people like colleagues, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the first thing is to, so there's you treat them like master to servants. I don't
Mm-hmm.
work in that way, but I treat them
Mm-hmm.
as colleagues. We are friends. We are
Mm-hmm.
friends to a certain extent, right?
Yeah.
And you must understand that when you are leading people or when you are managing people, you
Mm-hmm.
need those people.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have that at the back of your mind, that as a manager you can't do it all by yourself. You
Mm-hmm.
can't. do all the work. You can't achieve all the success by yourself. You need these
Mhm.
people. You must treat them like people, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Because I see when some managers manage people and they come from the master slave relationship, they are not my
Mhm.
slaves, right? They are my
Yeah.
colleagues, right? So
Yeah.
if you see people from that point of view, that people are important, their emotions and their feelings are important, there may be
Yeah.
sometimes that we will quarrel, we will have misunderstandings, right? There will
Mhm.
be sometimes that I would do something wrong, they would do something wrong, but we
Mhm.
must know that everything is about the work. There's nothing
Yeah.
personal about it. So
Yeah.
in being an effective manager, you need people, and so
Yeah.
you must look beyond their mistakes and see what is the best that you can get out of them. Because
Mm.
the truth is, I've worked with some managers in my career, and I've seen the ones that have oftentimes looked for your mistakes, and they
Mhm.
project that,
Yeah.
and every day they see what you're doing wrong. Every
Mhm.
day they find a mistake in what you're doing. But I don't try to lead that way. What I try to do is to see, okay, what is the best that can come out of this person? And
Mhm.
if I find where your strength is, then I push you towards your area of strength, right? So
Mhm.
you must understand that people, again, people will be people. People are
Yeah.
naturally lazy, right? But even
Yeah.
the laziest person has something that they are good at, right?
Yeah.
And because the person did an interview, the person wrote a test to get the job. So they are
Mhm.
not totally useless, right? They
Yeah.
went to university, they
Yeah.
graduated, right?
Yeah.
Right. So they are not totally useless. So you must
True.
find the best out of them and ensure that you amplify their best.
Yeah.
Again, um, another thing I must say about managing people, right, is emotional intelligence, right?
Mm.
If something
Mm.
is not going well with somebody, about their life, about their personal thing that doesn't
Mhm.
have to do with work, it will
Mhm.
surely affect work,
Yeah.
right? So as a manager, you need to be emotionally intelligent and understand that this
Mm.
person may be going through a lot. Try and
Mhm.
understand what the person is going through and try
Yeah.
and empathize, right? You may not be able to solve their problems, right? But just show empathy. That empathy alone um, may go a long way to bring them out of what they are going through to be effective
Mhm.
at work,
Mhm.
right? Because if they are not well mentally or emotionally, let me use the not mentally,
Yeah.
emotionally, cannot be they can no matter what you try
Mhm.
to force them to do, they will not be able to achieve it. So I think understanding people and being emotionally intelligent helps you be
Mhm.
an effective manager because it's people you are managing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
It's important that you say understanding people. I don't think a lot of managers take time to understand people actually. I think a lot of managers or leaders just see people as tools to accomplish what they want to accomplish. I'm the manager of this place. My job is to get the job done, and then I don't just care whatever happens. But and it's also important that you mention people. Most of the managers I've spoken with here, most of the business owners I've had conversation with, everybody talks about the power of people. Everybody talks about how important people are to the to whatever anybody's going to achieve. And I cannot overemphasize how important it is to empathize with people, understand what people are going through. People are not just there to be instrument or to be tools to achieve your purpose. People have got the life and they have got
Right.
visions for their life. They've got aspirations for their life. So it's also very important that as a manager that I'm able to say, you're able to say, how does your vision fit into what we're doing here? And as you're
Yeah.
helping us achieve our vision as a company, how can the company also help you achieve your aspirations and visions in life? I like the fact that you mentioned that. Let me quickly ask something. When you are employing somebody, when you're looking to employ somebody, you know, what are the characters you look out for? Of course, you see the resume, the CV, you look at educational. What are the characters you're looking out for?
So um first thing I look out for is culture fit,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So you may have the anybody can download a resume online, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You can go on Google, check the job description, and
Mm-hmm.
write your resume to mirror. Are you there?
I can hear you. Go on.
You there?
Go on. Yeah.
Okay, you can hear me.
Yeah. Go on, sir.
Okay, so as I was saying, um, anybody can download the resume online. Anybody can what's the word now? Anybody can copy a job description and create a perfect resume. But when I look at people and when I speak to them, right, a, not looking at their technical capability, I want to see, are you a culture fit? So when you speak, so when I ask you questions about what you've done before, how did you resolve issues? Um, are you going to be able to fit into our culture, right? Because a lot of people, are you there?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm here. I'm here.
Okay, you are
Yeah.
here. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to be able to ensure that the way you solve problems where you are, it will be ethical for us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I will ask you situation based questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Saying that, oh, okay, in this scenario, what did you do? How did you resolve this issue in this scenario? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking for culture fit. That's the main thing because I used to say to people, um, you can be good at what you do, but you have a bad behavior,
Mm-hmm.
right? You can be the best, but the story about you is you are very rude, right?
Hmm.
Because the job I do, I work with a lot of sensitive people, right? Sensitive clients that I want to ensure that you don't go there and irritate the client. So when you go to the client's place now, I don't want you to irritate my clients with the way you speak, with the way you behave. So I'm looking for culture fit. That's basically what I'm looking for. Aside checking that you are technically fit, you can communicate. I just want you to know that your culture fits our culture. So, and when I say culture, I mean your attitude to work. I mean how you resolve issues. I mean, um, can we trust you?
Hmm.
Right? Do you show a certain level of integrity? So when I'm asking you questions on what time do you resume work? Okay, if you don't have anything to do at work, what do you do with your time? You know,
Hmm.
um, Seeing people complain to me about where they work, thinking that if you complain about where you work, then I'll be happy to give you the job here. But in my
Mm-hmm.
mind, I'll be like, this guy that is complaining about where he is, once something little happens here too,
Mm-hmm.
that's how he will complain.
Yeah.
And Bible says a good name is better than silver and gold. So if somebody goes around spoiling the name of the organization, then
Mm-hmm.
that person is not a good culture fit, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what I look out for when I
Culture
want
fit.
to hire, yes, somebody on my
So
team. Yeah.
you're trying to say that the CV is important, job description is important. What you and like you said, anybody can get any of those things from anywhere and just put it there. And then, but you're saying beyond what anybody studied in school, beyond what anybody is say they're capable of doing, you want to find out how these people fit into the culture of your organization.
Yeah. I'll give
I,
you
I,
an example.
yeah.
Uh, Let me give you an example. Some people are coming from very toxic environment, right? And it's
Hmm.
not their fault,
Yeah.
right? And they have discovered that the way to resolve an issue is to shout, is a shouting match, right? You
Hmm.
shout at each other,
Hmm.
right? So, and I ask you a question. People are not doing well on because I work in construction, and I ask you a question like, your workers are coming late, they are not doing what they are supposed to do. Um, then the first thing you say to me is that you sack all of them.
Hmm.
right? It's a solution. It's a solution that people take, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, that's not how we work here.
Yeah.
No, we don't work that way. We want to understand what is the issue, right?
Yeah.
And before we take rash decisions, right? So if
Mm-hmm.
somebody says to me that, oh, I sack all of them, I'll be like, this one cannot work here, or this one cannot
Yeah.
work on our team, because
Mm-hmm.
every day there will be issues. And if you
Yeah.
begin to sack everybody, right, then one day you'll be the only one doing the work by yourself.
Yes.
Right. Mm.
You know, it's important that you mentioned something like people come from toxic environment. It's not just toxic work environment. People come from toxic family environment.
True,
And that
true.
also affects their view of life. And
Yeah,
that also affects how they behave at work.
yeah,
So sometimes,
correct.
I think I used to have this friend of mine here, and 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 she used to say to me, she's first a friend of my wife, and she said to me, you can't help everybody.
Yeah.
There's no need trying to fix everybody. You can't help everybody. How do what would you do if you find someone from such they're good at their job, they have possibly healthy, some to an extent, culture fit into your system, but you have these people who to an extent they have this sort of toxic toxicity that affects the work in totality. How would you eventually get rid of that person? You see that this person is eating deep into the work, it's affecting them. Let me say, how would you get rid of them first? How would you help such a person as a manager? How would the company help such a person first?
So, so there are two types of people, or let me say, there's
Mm-hmm.
one um, that's discovered that they have a problem,
Yeah.
right? And there's another one that doesn't agree that they have a problem.
Yeah.
So the one that doesn't agree that they have a problem, there's no help, right?
Sure.
Some people are
Hmm.
toxic,
Hmm.
right? You say to them that your behavior is not okay, is affecting you at work. You are not delivering what you're supposed to deliver because of your attitude. Not that we are happy with you with what you do, but your attitude based on your background or where you worked before, or
Mm-hmm.
family, is affecting the work. And the person says, that's how I am, leave me alone. There's no
Hmm.
help for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
No help. There's no help. But a person that acknowledges, because we are all human beings, right?
Mhm.
The truth is that I myself can be toxic at some point,
Yeah.
right? If
Yeah.
somebody points it out to you that, hey guy, your behavior or your attitude is not okay, it's for you to
Mm-hmm.
sit down and say, oh, okay, let me examine the situation, right? And
Mm-hmm.
not come. So now this brings me to a point. It may be somebody junior to you that is pointing it out to you. So as a
Hmm.
manager, right, when somebody junior to you points out to you that you have a toxic behavior, what do you do?
Hmm.
Right? Do you shout them down, or do you use your authority to put them down and say no? But as a manager, that's one of the ways of managing yourself, is to, right, what this person has said, is there any point in that? Then can I make amends? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So if the person is ready to make amends, then you can work with the person that, oh, this your so behavior, it's not good, right?
Hmm.
You need to make amends. So if the person is willing to change, then, because the truth is that you can't really force anybody to change. That's
Yeah.
just the truth.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if they are not willing to change, after some time, you have to exit them,
Yeah.
right?
And
If
how
you
do you exit
cancel,
somebody?
say that again.
You said after some time you have to exit them. That means you have to
Yeah,
relieve them of their job. How do you
or
relieve
you move
somebody
them
of?
to another unit, or if you discover that, oh, we've made a mistake, this is a culture of, this person is good on the job, but is a culture of, is not culturally fit, we can move the person somewhere else and say, oh, we will maybe looking at you. That's why, when I said before that understanding people, okay, maybe you're in the wrong role, let's put you in another role and see.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you are under the wrong manager. Maybe you are not even the problem. Maybe it's the manager that is the problem. Let's take you
Mm-hmm.
out of there and move you to another manager and see whether um, you still have the same behavior. And if you still have the behavior, then at some point the
You
person may
have
have
to.
to exit. But I think again, because for example, it's tough in Nigeria or in Lagos, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people may not, or organization may not have the patience
Mm-hmm.
to deal with your bad behavior and all.
Mm-hmm.
So most organizations are quick to exit, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then again, if you understand that there are over 200 million people in Nigeria, and maybe 70 or 60% are looking for the kind of jobs you are looking for, then you need to fix your behavior. So when somebody points out something to you, right,
Mm-hmm.
you need to fix it. You need to sit back. Don't. That's how I am. People can have that kind of attitude that that's how I am. I can't change, but that's not
Mm-hmm.
the position we take as people, even
Yeah.
in the family too. You're
Mm-hmm.
married, your wife points out something to you, that this is a bad behavior. Don't say I'm the head of the home, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which most men do. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
now I'm the Lord of all, nobody can speak to me. If you do
Mm-hmm.
that, um, you are not going to be too successful in that marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I feel like I want to ask this. You just mentioned things are tough in Lagos. Then you also talked about family. So I'm gonna talk about family quickly, and then we go to things being tough in Nigeria. Because it's not only you, it's a constant music that you hear people singing these days. Now,
Yeah.
you said that your wife point out something to you.
Yeah.
Can you cook? I know your wife has pointed about your cooking abilities before. What did you do about that one? Your wife had pointed
Okay.
out cooking abilities. And before you answer, I do remember the first and only time you've cooked something that I tried to eat. I did not eat. I tried to eat. You tried to make indomie.
You have brought me out online.
You tried to make indomie, and that
Ah,
was, I think that was about 20 years ago, if I'm correct. You tried to make indomie, or is it 19 years ago, and that
and the Indomie
indomie
was
came
floating in
out.
water.
Yeah. So have you improved now? Can you cook? Because your wife did mention it some time ago. She pointed out, how did you improve, or have you improved at all?
Okay, so um, last time I cooked was maybe 2 Sundays ago.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was simple. I think I boiled yam, right? I think I boiled yam, right? So, and I'll be very sincere with you. Before then, okay, let me share a story. So this can you cook? Can you cook? So I said to myself, I was going to go outside of the box, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was going to make Scotch egg, right? Somebody that cannot cook regular food, though. I said to myself, I was going to make Scotch egg. So, the video is on my Instagram page anyway, and the thing turned out to be a disaster at the end of the day. So, why am I saying this? All right. Then, maybe almost, I think that video was almost a year ago. Then, this year, my son said to me that, Daddy, when are you going to make Scotch egg for us again? That the last one you made for us was buns. I was like, so this boy can see. I was like, so this boy,
You
so
made
you were
Scotch
watching
buns.
and you remember, he said, when are you going to cook for us? The last time you made it was buns. I'm like, really? Anyway, so why am I saying this, right? Is out there that my cooking skills needs to improve, but I try my best, right? I know my wife points it out to me almost every time. Then I tried my best. So one Sunday like that, or 2 Sundays ago, I said to myself, okay, fine, um, let me boil yam, right? Because we eat yam on Sundays, right? So I think I can do that, and as much as possible. I so I don't, in as much as I'm not a great cook yet, I don't what's the word now? I don't shout her down that, in Africa now the man is not supposed to cook, or Africans say that is the woman's job to be in the kitchen. I don't say that. I just take my feedback and I try my best. And I think maybe that's why she has not yet I don't know what the word to use, right? But I try my best to, when she brings it up and says to me, "Can you cook? Or can you make this for us? Can you stay in the kitchen?" I try my best to understand that she's an human being. She was not meant. Her father and her mother did not send her to school to be cooking for a man all the rest of her life, right? I don't see her as a cook, right? So it's
So,
important. It's
so
important
in
for men
simplicity, you have not
yeah.
improved your cooking skills. In simplicity, all you are saying is right now you have not improved your cooking skills.
I try my best to cook. I try my best. Don't worry. Once you're in town, don't worry. I promise you a meal. Maybe I'll buy it from an eatery.
No, no, no. Oh my
Maybe
god.
I'll buy
Oh
it.
my god. Anyway, I do think, just like you said, I have a couple of boys in my house, and it's so painful when you hear 18, 19-year-old boys saying somehow that they think at the back of their mind that cooking is for women. It's so
No,
painful and
no,
hurtful. And I do want to say this. I do want to say this. I do want to say this to men and women everywhere. See, cooking is not a woman thing.
no,
Cooking
it's
is
not.
for who is hungry.
True.
Cooking is for who is
When I get
hungry.
hungry, I cook. Yeah.
Cooking is for who wants to take care of the family. Cooking is for who feels like I've got to be a support to my wife, to my husband. I've got to be a help, and I got to support my kids and all of those things. Cooking is not gender defining. It's not a gender defining role, especially in this generation. It's not. It's not gender to be handy at home. It's not gender to be helpful at home. It's not gender role to be handy in the kitchen. It is just human skill that is required in this generation.
Yeah.
So, to every
Yeah.
man out there, to every young man out there who's still telling his wife in this generation, it's your job to cook, you are extremely late to that game. You are extremely behind. It's time to step up. And I want to use this moment to say it's time to step up and develop your cooking skills. Yeah. Anyway,
And I
you
must
just
say,
said
you are a very good cook, right?
no. Nah,
You've been eating your goosey soup and ever for ages, right? Yeah, you're a very good
I
cook.
try my best. I try my best. Let's keep it humble. Let's keep it humble. Let's be humble in that environment. Let's keep it humble. But I said you mentioned that things are tough in Lagos, and like I said,
Yeah,
it's not only things are tough in Lagos. It's like across the country and across many parts of the world. What do
yeah.
you think is the leadership problem? Why do we have so much leadership problem in Nigeria? And how can we fix Nigeria?
Uh, the problem of the leadership of Nigeria is Nigerians itself, right? The leaders emerge from amongst us, right? So if we're good people, then we will have good leadership, right? I often say that the people that lead us, they didn't drop from heaven, right? They come from amongst us. And um, the fundamental problems that we have with leadership in this country starts from the grassroots, right? Starts from our primary school days. Starts from how were we trained when we went to primary school. You know, starts from how do we behave when we are at home. Starts from they say that everybody has the tendency of being corrupt, right? It's just that they don't have the opportunity, right? And that's true. You hear people say that once I get to government office, I will steal. People say that a lot and they joke about it. But the truth of it is that if they eventually get to government office, they will do the same, right? It's just
Hmm.
that they don't have the opportunity. So the real problem of leadership in this country is we the people, right? Until
Hmm.
we have an orientation from the grassroots, from the primary school days. I when I went to primary school, or maybe I can't remember, but I was driving it one day and I was at the traffic light and it was red, of course, and I stopped. And my son screamed from the back of the car and said, "Red means stop."
Hmm.
And I looked at him. Where did he learn this from? Right? Of course, it was school, right? But I don't think when I went to primary school, I can't remember that anybody ever
Hmm.
taught us red means stop. Nobody ever taught us don't walk on the lawn. Nobody ever taught us, even if they taught us, they flogged us so that we don't litter. They don't really tell us why we should not litter. You just see
Hmm.
somebody just flog you, right? So it starts from the fundamentals. If
Hmm.
we get it right from, when a child is born, right,
Hmm.
to the quality of education, um,
Hmm.
to the quality of the society, then when the
Hmm.
person gets, you can't expect our leaders now. How old are they? They are what, in their 60s. If
In the
somebody has been,
70s, in the 80s.
yes, if the person has been a thief for 70 years, you can't expect him, because now he's now in government office, he becomes a saint. And I
Hmm.
usually say this to my wife, that you cannot use the moral high, as because we are Christians and we are believers, we can't use that moral eye to look at the leadership
Hmm.
of this country. we
Yeah.
can't we can't use that moral eye, because the people are not on the same moral standards as you. So you cannot
Hmm.
expect them to behave like you. So you can't
Hmm.
expect the best out of them, right?
Hmm.
Because they've been like that all their life. And we saw them. Somebody used to say something that if a group of thieves gather together to elect somebody, will they elect a policeman?
Hmm.
Of course not. They will elect a thief, right? So that he will protect the interests, of their, so
Yeah.
that's the real problem. The problem is we need to fix the schools, right?
Hmm.
If you go to some of the government schools, I remember one time I traveled um, to a part of this country, and the governor's streets like looked like London. When I say looked like London, right,
Hmm.
it looked very affluent. Very next to that street was a school that was dilapidated, right?
Whoa.
Yeah. And I was like, but the governor lives here. How come he's not done anything about this school that is just. So tell me, if a child is brought up in that kind of harsh environment, right, is difficult environment, and when he now becomes a leader, all he can think of is that I don't want to go back to that dilapidated school that I'm coming
Yeah.
from.
Yeah.
Then he begins to do everything possible. He doesn't even care whether what he's doing is right or wrong.
Hmm.
He's
Hmm.
just doing everything possible to ensure he doesn't go back to poverty. And that
Yeah.
is the problem. And that's the
You
problem.
know, I tell myself that you just mentioned that if kids are brought up in that sort of environment, when they grow up, the first thing they're thinking in their mind is, I don't want to go back there. Someone always asks me that, what do I think, or why do I think our leaders are so corrupt? I said, and I'm trying to take time to observe this, and I think what we should try to observe. Most of the politicians we have right now are first-time survivors of poverty in their families.
True.
They are
True.
first-time survivors of poverty in their family. And once you're a first-time survivor of poverty in your family, once you're a first-time survivor of that situation where you only had just to eat, all you had to do is just eat, you know,
Yeah.
the moment you hit money, especially that easy money of politics, the moment you get it, the first thing that comes into your mind is, I don't want to go back there. I've suffered so much, I don't want to go back there. So you're not dealing with the mindset of assisting other people. You're not dealing with
No.
the mindset of raising other people in your family to not be like you. You're thinking of, I don't want my kids to go through what I went through. I don't want my grandkids to go through what I went through. I don't want my grandkids' kids to go through what I went through. So you find out that eventually you end up just piling up so much money that your grandchildren will like, how? And I think that's one of the problems we have in the in our system in Nigeria and across Africa and many other parts of the world. But I do think now that we're beginning to have a new generation or a second generation, things are changing. The priority is no longer to survive poverty. That's not the priority anymore. The priority now is the standard of life, and people understand that the standard of your life is affected by the standard of life in your environment.
True. Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how rich you are, you cannot enjoy life if your environment is not standard, if the quality of people in your environment is not standard. I think people
True.
need to understand that. Let me quickly ask this. I know that you are a committed church person. You go to church, we have been doing this, and we're happy to do this. We're happy to give our lives to God and to God's work and to God's people. We're it's been part of what has formed our lives so far. But what has changed in your mind from the knowledge you used to have about church 23 years ago or 20 years ago and the knowledge you have right now?
Uh, uh, so first time, let me start like this. First time I went to the UK, and and we went to church, and I was shocked. Ah, that is this how church is done? Right. So it was different from what I was used to. Right. So a lot of so I've discovered that a lot of how church is based on the personality of the leader,
Mm-hmm.
or the pastor, right? So the directions you go in the church, the way things are done,
Mm-hmm.
is based on what the pastor said. In those days, we never really, although we read the Bible, but we
Mm-hmm.
believed what the man of God said,
Mm-hmm.
even more than the Bible at some point, right? Because what the
Mm-hmm.
man of God said was was cast in stone, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Hmm.
even if he was saying something wrong or he was saying something not too accurate, we still went with it because
Mm-hmm.
we have to submit, right? And the church is not a democratical organization. There's no democracy in church,
Hmm.
right? So the truth is that right now, even Bible says in the last days, knowledge shall increase. We are getting to read more of the God's word. We are getting to have a personal relationship with God, and we're getting to see, oh Lord, maybe what they said to us was not totally correct, right?
Mm-hmm.
It may be the truth, but it was not totally correct,
Mm-hmm.
And in these days, we are beginning to see a lot of people that question our leaders, right? And we don't see a real response. Then you wonder, maybe there's something that they've not said to us, So, but
Mm-hmm.
in these days, being a committed church person, I've come to realize that um, being close to God must be a personal relationship between you and God. You must
Mm-hmm.
not that somebody said something. You must go back to check that even that thing he has said for you to do
Mm-hmm.
is correct. That
Mm-hmm.
is not fulfilling his own personal agenda. You know,
Mm-hmm.
as I think about it and I talk about it now, right? Many of the things are just the personal agenda of one man that is trying to
Mm-hmm.
fulfill, but not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily God said, right?
Hmm.
Even if God said, it may be the will of that man that he's trying to fulfill. He's trying to achieve something. He's trying to have a great name. He's trying to do something new, right? But not necessarily that God has asked us to do it. So these days I've prioritized my walk with God on a personal basis. That I say to my wife every time, and I say to her that when I look at the story of Moses, God said to Moses, if you look at the book of Exodus, there were a lot of times that God was speaking to Moses directly, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was no intermediary, right? Because by the time you begin, because we are all flesh, all right?
Mm-hmm.
By the time the intermediary comes in, the message becomes distorted, right? Which I
Mm-hmm.
think is happened. That's why a lot of people are bitter with church. A lot of people are disappointed. A lot of people, there's a lot of controversies that's come out in recent times, which never used to happen, right? Because it was a situation of touch not my anointed and do my prophet no harm. You dare not speak against a man of God. But in these days, because of a lot of wrongs that have happened, right, then people are beginning to speak up, right? We are beginning to, again, I must say this, I don't support a lot of the people that go online and abuse men of God, right? I don't support that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we are Africans, and one of the things that we learned as Africans is respect for elders,
Hey,
right? We not
can I
agree
come
with
in there?
elders. Yeah,
Can I come in there? Now, I
yes,
don't mean to cut you short. You saying as Africans that our core culture is respect.
yeah,
Do you think, to an extent, that our political leaders and our religious leaders are taking advantage of that culture of respect to do as they will do, as they wish to do, knowing that we already have the culture of respect ingrained in our system? Therefore, nobody will call them out on it, nobody will question them on it. I totally agree with you. I do not, regardless of who it is, I was never. I supported President Buhari in his time. This government was not something I eventually was proud of, but I never insulted him as a person. I can
yeah,
criticize his policies, criticize his work, but as an elderly person, as an elderly statesman, as a grandfather, I never insulted him. But do you think that these political leaders and our religious leaders are taking advantage of this ingrained culture of respect to do and
of
undo in
course,
our system?
of course. Politicians and leaders would, once they find an avenue, they take it to the next level and use it to oppress the people. The truth is that respect is reciprocal, the way they say, right? If the leader doesn't now show, so it has to be two ways, right? If the leader doesn't now show respect to the people, right, and treat them badly and steal and mislead them, right, then you have lost your respect, right? So, of course, because they know that a lot of us as Africans, because we have that culture of respect, we will not speak back. A lot of us will not speak back. But the times are changing, right? The times are changing. We need to speak back and hold leadership accountable across all spheres, whether in business, whether politically, whether in church. We need to hold our leaders accountable. They need to be able to say to us that the direction they are taking us is the right direction, right? And I'll give an example, right? Nigeria, we just changed our national anthem, or I don't know whether we just introduced a new national anthem. I really don't understand how that affects the cost of goods on the streets, right? I really don't understand. I'm still trying to read online and understand what is the rationale behind, 1 year in office, and what we are using to celebrate 1 year in office is a new national anthem. The last time I sang the national anthem was maybe in my primary school, right? And the only other time I see national anthem being played is at football matches, right? So I'm trying to wonder, how does that affect the reality of the common man today? I don't know. I think it's an insult on the people. I'm still trying to wonder what is the rationale behind that's one of the agendas, and people sitting in government houses, and I don't know. I really don't know. I know we've been exploited because the people, well, these days people are speaking up, right? These days we're having conversations like this that we are beginning to become more enlightened, right? And we're speaking up. And I implore everybody, everywhere you find yourself, call leadership to book, whether it's in church, whether it's in um, um
The
the
mosque.
political offices, mosque, you know, call your leader and say to the leader, sir, what exactly are you doing? Right? How are you affecting the life of the common man? What laws are you passing? Right? Um, what are you doing? Because there's that notion that people really do nothing in government houses, right? It's time for us as young people to begin to say to that local government chairman, that pastor, sir, what are you doing exactly? Right? Let us know exactly what you are doing. Right? How are you trying to benefit or better my life? We elected you into office. Then what are you doing? Right? If it's to change national anthem, I don't know. Maybe it will affect the people in primary
You know,
school. I don't know.
you said something about the national anthem. There are a couple of things you have raised here, and I want to quickly, you know, take them one by one so that we can address them before we begin a roundup. You see, you spoke about the national anthem. I think to
Yeah.
an extent, I want to understand a little bit of the rationale behind the national anthem. I've looked at the wordings of the national anthem they have adopted now. I think the whole idea is trying to trying to promote unity, trying to promote patriotism among Nigerian citizens. That's one of the things I believe might be the aim of that. But my question is, in an attempt to promote patriotism, how do you drop a song that was written by a Nigerian for a song that was written by
A
a
colonial
wife
master.
of a colonial master in an era that we were just leaving colonialism? How? I thought and asked myself, for heaven's sake, we have Two Face, we have Thames,
Why can't we write a new song?
we have Burna Boy, we have Auntie Onyeka, we have Uncle Charlie Boy, we have all of these beautiful artists in the name and attempt to promote patriotism. Why not just bring all of these people in a grandiose studio or even in a studio of the Don Jazzy studio and say, okay, you guys, for patriotism's sake, you have 1 month to cook up a beautiful national anthem, and you're not going to be paid for it. It's your act of patriotism. I think Nigerians would have connected more to that because
Of course.
I don't connect with, if you have ever stepped out of Nigeria, if you have ever stepped out of Nigeria, gone abroad and see how Nigerians are treated and how the Brits still treat Nigerians everywhere. I mean, no
Yeah.
disrespect to those who treat them nice. You will not want to be associated with a national anthem that is written by the wife of somebody who of one of the colonial masters when we were just leaving a colonial era. So, on that note, I am not sure that the president got that call right. I'm not sure his advisors got that call right. But the idea of giving us a new anthem that reflected our need for unity and need to promote patriotism on that note, I think I would want to agree with them. But the choice of the anthem, no,
The
I think I
song.
totally disagree.
One thing I liked that they did some time ago, I'll just say
Mhm.
quickly, that slogan of good people, great nation. I don't know whatever happened to that. That could have been the Nigerian slogan, good people,
Mhm.
great nation, right? They were trying to promote that, but I don't know. That just fizzled away, right? I think that should be on the billboards everywhere. But
Mhm.
then again, I don't know. I wish I was in
I think
government.
if you go to many countries around, when they're trying to promote around the world, when they're trying to promote a particular culture, you see the government takes makes effort to put that statement in billboards around, in train stations, in buses. You see it. So such slogans like you have just mentioned is something that will begin to sow such seeds. You know,
Yeah.
I want to. I don't know if I'm, but I want to quickly say that you said that the church is not a democratic organization, especially
Yeah.
in Nigeria. It's not a democratic organization. I do know many religious organizations that are democratic organizations, but like the ones in Nigeria, the Pentecostal movement in Nigeria, there's nothing democratic about it. That we know most times. That it's we are all banked on "Thus said God." God said. God told me. And from what I have learned over the years, once you say to me, "God said this," there's no argument.
Yeah.
So, do you think it is fair for somebody leading an undemocratic organization to be advising a democratically elected leader?
It's leadership by example now. If they are not showing those examples, how do you want to advise such a person? It's the examples you show, right? And again, I say this to people every time. When the Muslim ticket thing came up, and I say to people that we've had Christians in the position of leadership from time immemorial, and I could mention names of people that were Christians. What did they do when they were there, right? So you are in church, right? You are supposed to reflect um, the principles and the values we learn from church when we get to government. But it's as if once you step into the government house or once you become in a position of leadership, you begin to do something else, right? So it's uh, to a large extent, I- I'm not seeing the kind of influence I'm expecting the church to have over the nation in totality. I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it really, right? Because it's the same people that go to church on Sunday that work in our offices on Monday, right?
Mhm.
Same people, right? And so I'm not seeing that influence that the church, or maybe in little pockets all over the country, but in the grand scale of things, right? If you check the people that are senators and our leaders, they are Christians, right?
They're
So
Christians and
they are
Muslims.
not.
I don't think, see, religion is cut into the bones of our people in
And it's,
every.
it's now become a tool of control.
Yeah, it's a tool of control. You have Muslims and Christians, people who go to Juma on Fridays. They bow their heads, they pray, they fast. You have Christians who have, I'm going to say, you have Christians who go to church daily, daily.
Yeah.
They blow tongues daily, but they get to the office and they are, oh my, permit me to use the word, astronomically,
Different from who they are on
astronom,
Sunday.
astronomically, I'm trying not to use a very negative word, but
Yeah,
they
I understand
they
you.
just don't work for the nation. They are all
Until
just personally driven. They're all selfish, greedy, and thieving at the same time. It is painful to see that these leaders, either in despite their religious affiliations, they come abroad, they see all the excellencies and the beauties that is abroad, and they go back home and replicate it to their in their own small house for themselves and leave the masses suffering. I think it was Ganifa Omi that kept crying every day about the leadership in Nigeria and how wicked they are because they go abroad and they see all of these excellencies and they fail to bring it back.
let me ask you a question based on what you are saying now. Do you think um, in turning around the situation of Nigeria, what do you
Mhm,
think the people in the diaspora, Nigerians in the diaspora, right?
mhm,
What do you think
mhm,
they can do to help? Because the truth is that if you're in a ditch, right, it's somebody outside the ditch that can pull you out. You can
Mm-hmm.
struggle and try, which I think is what is happening right now,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what do you think the people in the diaspora can do? People that live where things work, right? What do you
Mm-hmm.
think they
Mm-hmm.
can do to help the situation of Nigeria?
Before I answer that question, I'm supposed to be asking the question, but now you're asking. Let me quickly say this. I have observed that
Mm,
most religious people, whether they are Muslims, whether they are Christians, once they leave Nigeria, go abroad, their religious attachment and affiliation or commitment drops.
true.
Why? Why?
Ah,
The truth is, you realize that the things you spend so much time and energy praying and fasting about, you don't require fasting to fix them here.
true.
You don't require prayers to fix them. And that tells us there's a fundamental problem with how religion is practiced in Nigeria, how religion is
True.
practiced in Africa. There's a fundamental error in it. Like you said, there are so many truths in it, but there are fundamental errors.
True.
Because once people leave our countries, come outside of it, people become less religious because they understand if I'm sick, I go to the hospital, the doctor will fix me.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
my car has a problem, I call the insurance company. They are guaranteed to come. If I
I
pay
don't pray
my
over it.
if I pay my electric bills, I will get light guaranteed. If I pay my
Yeah.
water bills, I have water guaranteed. I don't have to pray and fast about any of these things.
True.
So the question is, how can things be fixed? How can those in diaspora help? And like you said, those who have I think that there is need to involve those who are in diaspora in shaping a new vision for Nigeria.
Hmm.
And let me say this, I don't necessarily mean, and I make bold to say this, not really the children of politicians in diaspora. Yeah, I'm going to tell you the truth. Not really the children of politicians in diaspora, because those ones
Because they
are
see
enjoying
Nigeria
life.
from a different angle.
They see
They don't
Nigeria
see.
from, yes, they don't see
Yeah,
what people
I,
are suffering in Nigeria.
I get you. I get you.
So we need to find people who were in Nigeria and understood the pains of Nigerians and then moved abroad and have renewed their mind and understood that excellence can be achieved. And then we call these people, listen, I'm from the eastern part of Nigeria, and I do not think in any way that dividing Nigeria as is going to be helpful for Nigeria. I don't think so,
Yeah.
because the question is, you look at the governors in the east. How excellent is the eastern part? If the
True.
eastern part was exceedingly prosperous, now we could say, oh, Nigeria as a country is pulling us back.
Yeah. True.
You understand
But
me?
it's all the same. It's all the
Yeah,
same
it's
thing
all
all
the
over
same.
the country.
So I personally will canvass for a collective vision for Nigeria, a collective vision that involves those in diaspora who are not as corrupt as those in the system.
Yeah.
Because see,
Yeah.
it's almost impossible to not be corrupt in the Nigerian system. If you earn 150,000 a month, you have 3 kids, your house rent is there, and all that, you must find other means to make ends meet.
True. True.
So I personally think there's need for a collective Nigerian vision that involves those in diaspora I've had a couple of conversations with those in diaspora, and I know they are very willing to contribute to the system in Nigeria to make things work. Bro, let me tell you the truth. When you see Nigerians abroad doing well, they wish that they can do well in Nigeria.
In
They wish
Nigeria.
they can contribute
Yes.
positively in Nigeria. But the truth is, Nigerians are captives of the mighty.
Mm,
I tell you the truth.
mm,
Nigerians are
mm,
captives of the mighty, prey of the terrible. And
mm.
either in
True.
in political sector or religious sector, they are captives of the mighty. I tell somebody something, and I make bold to say this, bro. If Nigeria develops up to the point of European countries, your churches will be empty up to 60-65%.
Yeah. Yeah.
People
True.
will not have people will not have need for 8 a.m. programs on Monday morning. People will not have need for 9 a.m. programs on Monday morning when they should be at work. I'm at work by 10 a.m. and somebody is sending me a link and say, join this for a miracle, join this for a. I said, your pastor is in his office. I'm in my office. I've got to work. If I don't
Wow.
work, I'll lose my job. So
True.
those in diaspora have also got to learn that the system you have experienced, do your best, go back home and begin to force a change. Begin to force a change. The things people enjoy in the US are people that are proceeds of many people fighting the system. There's
True.
subtle ways to effect change these days. Your subtle ways, whatever you see abroad, if you have the resources, go and implement it back home in your own little way. That's what I think.
True. Because that will really help us.
Mhm.
Um, we need some sort of exodus of Nigerians abroad
Yeah,
here. A lot of and that's one of the things I feared most about moving abroad. People get lost when they move abroad. Some people forget about the country because of course they have their own challenges where they are and all that. But the truth is that their mind never leaves here. People abroad follow the news in Nigeria more than me. They are constantly, on Nigerian station, constantly watching Nigerian films, because your mind is still drawn back to home. So I'm just saying, anybody in the diaspora here, or you're from anybody anywhere in Africa, just know that you are there for anywhere in the world. I mean, just know you are there for a while, and there is a lot of work to do back in Africa. There's a lot of change that needs to happen. And if we, the good people, or you, the good people that are abroad, right, that knows how systems and processes work, stay back abroad and live there all the rest of your life, then things will not change, right? Things
true,
will not change.
true,
Things will
true.
not change. So for us to drive a change, I think the people in the diaspora needs to find a platform to come together and say we are all going back to our country to solve one problem, right? We pick one of the problems and we say we are ready to solve this. If it's the leadership problem, we pick it and we say we are ready to solve. If it's the power problem, pick it, we are ready to. Somebody, I was listening to somebody and the guy was like, why are we so fixated on developing apps in Africa where the road on our streets, right? We've not developed the technology to fix the road, something that has been fixed for over 100 years in Europe, right? But in
Hmm.
Africa, we have bad roads everywhere. Why are we fixated on developing apps? Why don't we um, develop a system that the road works, the construction sector works. We don't have building collapses. Healthcare works. The little basic things, and those are things that people in diaspora can lean in and
Hmm.
offer and helping hand. You know.
Yeah. I want to quickly ask something. I'll just take two more questions and we go. Do you
Yeah.
think democracy is working in Nigeria and Africa? And do you think democracy is what we need? I have a lot of, I brood over this over and over, and I have my thoughts, but I want to hear your thoughts. Do you think democracy is what Africa needs, is working in Nigeria, is working in Africa?
Uh, uh, do we have democracy in Nigeria? I don't think so. I don't think. I don't think we use the word, right? Right. We use the word democracy, but is it a democracy? Right? right? I don't think we have democracy. I don't think it's the government of the people by the people, right? Right. I don't think so. So mm, we try to dance around the world, but I don't think it's working. If this is what democracy is, I don't think it is working. I think we are still miles away from what it should be, right? I think a lot of work still needs to be done in receiving feedback and addressing the needs of the people that elected you into office, right? That feedback channel is not there, right? That's um, I remember. Okay, during the campaign for the governorship election, I remember the last governorship election. I saw a lot of politicians, right? I saw them walk on my street, right? Some of the aspirants I saw, um, people that are vying for office coming back down, removing their cap and prostrating. I saw different people. Now it's been 1 year, right? I don't see them anywhere, right? And I remember at that forum, one of the political rallies I went for, this politician, right? They were asking him questions and he was answering, right? Open forum. Anybody could ask him a question and he was saying his plans straight. That was before he was elected into office. Right now, this is 1 year after. I've not seen him anywhere. So if he's government of the people by the people, right, he's not coming to take feedback from anybody. We know of one that went to churches and was shaking people at the door, right? All of us saw the videos, right? We saw the videos. I don't think he has stepped back in that church after then, right? I don't think he has shaken anybody at the door. This is 1 year, right? So that's why I say I don't think it's a democracy because the voice of the people are not really heard. All right. The voice of the people are not where the people's voice is now is on Twitter. And there was a time that they banned Twitter, right? Right. The voice of the people are not really heard. So I don't think the democracy is working. Um, we should be able to have a town hall meeting where the governor will come and we ask him random questions. We should be able to have the president stay in a press conference where journalists that we've selected, not the one he selected, will ask him random questions and he will provide answers. We should have like a closer relationship with somebody that is leading us. You know, we should have right. Lagos is not that big. We can segment Lagos into 5 or 10 different or 20 different local government or whatever it is. And the government meets with us maybe every 3 months or every 6 months and takes feedback. I don't know how that feedback process is happening right now. So I don't think it is working. I think we still have the monarchist kind of leadership where somebody just sits on the throne and decrees a thing and is
Hmm.
established. That's what
anyway, anyway, I was going to say that one of the problems I think with democracy in Nigeria is we do not have effective functional system. We don't have system that support democracy in Nigeria. We have a
yeah,
thieving, we have a thieving system. We have a thieving system where you spend so much to get into power, you have to thief back to to
you have to
give back.
recoup back your investment.
Back. It's like an investment. I personally do not think, sometimes I don't think that democracy over the park. I think it's almost 25 years of democracy in Nigeria now. I don't think it's working for us. And I think that when if Nigeria can come up with a vision, like I said,
Yeah,
that involves people from outside, this vision has got to be passed as a law and say this is the vision for 50 years. It doesn't matter the party that comes into
you
play.
must follow the line. You
You
must
must
follow.
follow that vision. It doesn't matter the power that comes, the party that wins. You can have party from PDP. These days, you have almost 50 parties everywhere. You can, whatever party, but this is Vision Nigeria. It's Vision 60 years. It's Vision 60 years. You must fit into it. Your project, so that we don't have one president that started a project here, then the other one comes in and say that project is not, then he
That's it.
closes it, our money is gone. Anyway, let me take the last question so that we have taken a lot of your time today, and I really appreciate it. Now, back to family stuff. I follow your wife on her LinkedIn account. I follow her on
Yeah,
Instagram. I follow your wife on
yeah.
Facebook, and she is amazingly popular. She's doing well. She's How are you comfortable with your wife being more famous, and are you how do you cope with that, having a wife that is out there and always out there, and you just do project management and sneak back home and sit in the chair. Maybe you drive her to the conferences, and then she says, "That's my husband." How 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 do you manage that?
So first of all, as I said to you, as we spoke, I don't want to be popular, right? Um, so everybody knows what works for them, right? So I've always known, even before she gained a bit of popularity, I've always known that this is what she wants to do, right? And this is the direction is leading her. So to her, it's a ministry, right? And when something is a ministry, then you really have no choice but to do it, right? So when you recognize that this is it's a calling, right? In religious terms, we call it a calling. So what she does is a calling to her, and when you realize that this is the calling of the person you've married, and again, it's important for those of us, maybe you're single or you're married, um, understand the direction of the person that you are getting married to. I knew this direction even before we started the relationship. I said to you that she spoke at an event, right? And I knew that this calling is there, right? So I've understood that for many years. So when she said she wanted to, she's being intentional with everything she's doing. I want to write a post every week on LinkedIn. I want to do a TikTok post. I want to, write blog, open a blog, open a website. I know that this is a calling and I have to support. As I said to you, I don't want to be famous. If it's possible, I can get off social media and be right. But that's what she wants to do. I just have to support her. It will be wicked of me, and which is what many people do. And it's an ego thing, right? You are insecure, right? It's an insecurity thing that, oh, your wife is more popular than you. Then you begin to feel a certain type of way. Me, I don't
Mhm.
want to be popular, right?
So
I don't
what
want
do
my
you want
face
to
on.
be? What do you want to be?
Yes, I don't I want to be the supportive husband in respect to that, right? I know I said something to you yesterday, but I don't want to say that online.
Well, it's like I set trap for you to say it.
I'm not going to say that online, right? So, but right, I want to be as supportive as possible to her, right? When it comes to that, um, and I don't feel any type of way that she's more popular. It doesn't take anything out of me. I don't feel insecure,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
Because I've understood from time that this is who she is.
mhm,
Why people feel insecure is that it comes as a shocker.
mhm,
If you've seen something coming, right, then it doesn't shock you anymore, right? You saw it coming, you know it was coming, and you even
mhm,
helped to push for it to get where it is, right?
mhm,
For it to come. Then you don't feel any sort of way. But
mhm,
if you get married to somebody you don't know, right, and they begin to do some certain things, then you become shocked, they become insecure, right? That's
mhm.
not the case. Yeah, and I'm excited. I'm happy for her, right?
That's good. That's good. Anyway, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I've been having conversation with my guy, my GNY.
Yeah,
It's been
yeah.
wonderful talking with Gbeminiyi Jinadu. For those of you that didn't know, we've been friends for 23 years, and 23 amazing years. He's been we've been by each other's side, supporting each other in the best way that we can. And I'm very happy that you on the show and we've had this conversation. So, Jen,
Thank
I
you very
just
much.
want to say thank you and thank you. And I look forward, like you said, I don't know when I'm going to be in Nigeria, but I look forward to coming to eat something that you made. And let's see. And I know that we both look forward to having and the Nigeria that we look forward to, the Nigeria that we're proud of. We know that our leaders are doing the best that they can do. A couple of them are doing the best that they can do. Remember, during the election, I told you clearly that my favorite candidate was going to be Peter Obi, not because I did believe that he was the best for the job, but I did believe that he could inspire hope and believe in Nigerian system. But I did also tell you that I believe that President Tinubu does have the a system and structure that he can use to do things in Nigeria. And I do hope, and I wish the president well. I do hope that our leaders can give their very best to turn things around in Nigeria. I know that's what you hope for. I know that's what we hope for. And as for the religious angle, I don't know. We just keep hoping that God will help our religious leaders to not just be religious, to be transformative in what they teach and what they hope plan for the future of our generations. So from me, Chigozie George, I just want to say thank you for joining GNY. I really appreciate it. I don't know if you want to say something quickly before we log out.
Uh, Thank you very much for having me. Is I think this is my first live session online, right? Right. So I'm a very shy person, but
Yeah?
thank you everybody that's watched. 1 hour 26 minutes. Wow, right? Thank you everybody that's watched. We pray and we hope for a better country, a better church, and it starts from me and you, right? So if I am better, the society is better, right? It's not somebody else, right? So we may point at the leaders, we may point at somebody else, but the change starts from me, right? And that will be my signing off.
All right.
Thank you very
Thank you all so
much.
much. I have a I'll see you next week, Saturday. I'm having a conversation with a friend of mine also here in Turkey who is also a manager in an oil refinery company. She's Turkish and she is an amazing personality. We're gonna have a conversation with her next week. I look forward to having you again sometime. So enjoy your weekend and be good. Thank you so much.